"Calvin, you need to stop groping my best friend in front of our anniversary guests. People are staring." The words come out of my mouth with the same tone I'd use to remind caterers about proper serving etiquette, while my husband of 35 years has his hands all over Bernice Morrison's body. Beside the champagne fountain, I spent 3 weeks coordinating. Around us, 150 guests freeze mid-conversation, their shocked faces reflecting the reality I've apparently been too blind to see. My name is Phyllis Whitman. I'm 63 years old, and this is the story of how I discovered my own family had been systematically destroying me while I funded their lies. If this situation resonates with your soul, hit subscribe and let me know in the comments where you're tuning in from. The ice spreads from my heart outward as Calvin and Bernice spring apart like teenagers caught by parents. My arthritis-worn hands shake while holding the event timeline I've been perfecting for 6 months. The same hands that coordinated over 500 successful events during my 30-year career, now trembling as I watch my entire social circle stare at me with expressions ranging from pity to horror. "Phil, honey," Bernice says, her voice carrying that gentle tone you'd use with someone having a mental breakdown. "We were just..." Calvin was helping me with my necklace clasp, while his hand was clearly on her breast and her tongue was in his mouth. The same lie delivered with the practiced ease of someone who's been deceiving me for years. "Of course," I say automatically, my event coordinator training kicking in to smooth over social awkwardness. "The photographer will be here soon for family photos. We should probably..." "Mrs. Whitman?" the head caterer interrupts, his face flushed with embarrassment. "Should we continue with the champagne service?" The guests seem a bit unsettled. I look around my perfectly coordinated anniversary celebration and see 150 faces staring at me with the same expression. The look people give someone who's just humiliated themselves publicly without realizing it. Margaret Henderson approaches with her husband, their faces carrying that careful concern reserved for social disasters. "Fall, maybe you should sit down. You look confused." Confused. The word that's been following me for months, delivered with increasing frequency by people who apparently understand my marriage better than I do. "I'm not confused," I say, but my voice sounds uncertain, even to my own ears. Calvin and Bernice were just... "Phil." Dorothy Walsh appears at my elbow, her voice gentle but firm. "Honey, everyone can see what Calvin and Bernice were doing. We've all been watching it happen for 2 years. 2 years. The number hits like a physical blow while around us. The country club ballroom continues its elegant buzz. Servers arranging the $15,000 floral displays, musicians tuning instruments, guests whispering behind champagne glasses about the spectacle I've just created. "What do you mean, 2 years?" I ask, though my event planning instincts are already cataloging the social dynamics I've been trained to read for 3 decades. The uncomfortable glances, the pitying smiles, the way conversations stop when I approach. "They've been having an affair, Phil," Margaret says quietly. "We all thought you knew, and we're just trying to save face with this big party." Save face? I've spent $85,000 of my retirement savings to celebrate a marriage that died 2 years ago, while my entire social circle watched me plan my own humiliation. "That's ridiculous," I say. But even as the words leave my mouth, I'm remembering every committee meeting Calvin attended with Bernice, every emergency that required him to drive her places, every time she complimented my understanding about their friendship. "Phil, darling." Bernice approaches with arms extended, her lipstick smeared, and her dress wrinkled from Calvin's hands. "You're getting upset over nothing. You know how affectionate we all are in our friend group." Affectionate? I've just watched my husband of 35 years fondle my best friend of 20 years in front of 150 people, and she's calling it affectionate. "Calvin," I say, turning to my husband who's straightening his tuxedo, the one I picked out for our anniversary photos. "Were you kissing Bernice?" "Phil, you're being dramatic," he says, using the gentle tone he's perfected for managing my emotional overreactions. Bernice had something in her eye. I was helping her. Something in her eye, while his tongue was in her mouth and his hand was on her breast. The lie is so obvious that several guests actually gasp. "Oh my God," whispers someone behind me. "She really doesn't know." Doesn't know. I look around at these people, my friends, my social circle, my carefully cultivated network of 30 years, and see the truth written on every face. They've all been watching my husband's affair unfold like dinner theater, while I planned elaborate events to maintain our reputation. Pastor Williams approaches with his wife, their faces grave with the expression reserved for delivering devastating news. Phyllis, perhaps we should speak privately. No, I say, my voice carrying the authority I used during complex event crises. If my husband is having an affair with my best friend, I want to know right here, right now, in front of everyone. The ballroom goes completely silent. Even the caterers stop moving. 150 pairs of eyes focus on Calvin and Bernice, who exchange the panicked look of people whose secret has just been exposed. Phil, Calvin starts, but I cut him off with the same precision I used to manage difficult vendors. How long? My voice echoes across the silent ballroom. 2 years, Bernice admits, her voice barely a whisper. 2 years. While I've been planning our perfect anniversary celebration, coordinating every detail with professional precision, my husband and best friend have been laughing about my pathetic desperation behind my back. I look around my beautifully decorated ballroom at the flowers I selected, the menu I planned, the guests I invited to honor a marriage that's been dead for 2 years, and realize that the confused, desperate wife they've all been pitying doesn't exist. The professional event coordinator who spent 30 years managing social disasters is about to show them exactly what a real disaster looks like, and it's not going to be mine. The silence in my country club ballroom stretches like the moment before a wedding disaster, that suspended breath before everything falls apart. I'm standing surrounded by 150 guests who've just witnessed my husband admit to a 2-year affair with my best friend, while the $85,000 anniversary celebration I've spent 6 months planning becomes the backdrop for my public humiliation. 2 years, I repeat, my voice carrying the authority I used when vendors tried to lie about delivery schedules. 2 years while I've been planning this anniversary celebration. Calvin and Bernice exchange another look, the same coordinated glance I've seen between event partners who are trying to manage a crisis. But now I recognize it for what it really is, the look of conspirators who've been caught. File, let's discuss this privately, Calvin says, using the gentle tone he's perfected for managing my emotional episodes. You're embarrassing yourself in front of our friends. Embarrassing myself. While he's been groping my best friend at our anniversary party, I'm the one causing embarrassment. Our friends? I look around the ballroom at faces that show everything from pity to fascination. Calvin, how many of our friends knew about your affair? The question hangs in the air like a challenge. Margaret Henderson suddenly finds her champagne glass fascinating. Dorothy Walsh won't meet my eyes. Pastor Williams clears his throat uncomfortably. Show of hands, I announce, my event coordinator voice taking complete control. How many of you knew my husband was sleeping with my best friend? The response is devastating. Slowly, reluctantly, hands go up around the ballroom. Margaret and her husband, Dorothy and Walter. The Johnsons from the country club board. The Millers from our dinner party group. Even my own daughter Jennifer raises her hand with tears in her eyes. 23 hands, 23 people who've been watching me plan my own humiliation while keeping Calvin's secret. How long have you known, Jennifer? I ask my daughter, my voice steady despite the earthquake in my chest. 6 months, Mom. Her voice breaks. Dad made me promise not to tell you. He said it would destroy you, and you seemed so happy planning the party. 6 months. My own daughter has been watching me spend my retirement savings on a celebration of a dead marriage while protecting her father's affair. And you, Margaret? How long have you known? About a year, Margaret admits, her voice barely audible. We see them together at the club all the time, very affectionate. We thought you had some kind of arrangement. Arrangement? They thought I was so pathetic that I'd agreed to share my husband with my best friend while funding their lifestyle. What kind of arrangement? I ask, my professional training kicking in to gather all the facts. Well, Dorothy says hesitantly, you always seemed so focused on event planning and social activities. We thought maybe you and Calvin had evolved into more of a companionate marriage. Companionate marriage. While I've been pouring my heart and expertise into creating perfect events for our social circle, they've been assuming I was too busy to notice my husband's affair. Bernice, I say, turning to my best friend of 20 years. What did you tell people about our arrangement? Bernice's face flushes red. File? I never said we had an arrangement. What did you tell them? My voice carries the authority I used with vendors who tried to avoid responsibility. I might have mentioned that you were very understanding about Calvin needing companionship while you were so busy with your events. Companionship? She's been telling our social circle that I was too absorbed in party planning to satisfy my husband's needs. And the money? I continue, my mind working with the systematic precision I used for complex event budgets. Bernice, I've been giving you money for emergencies for 2 years. What emergencies? Phil, those were legitimate. What emergencies? I repeat, my voice cutting through her deflection. Car repairs? Medical bills? Home maintenance? She says quickly. Show me the receipts. The challenge hangs between us like a gauntlet thrown down. Around us, 150 guests watch this interrogation unfold with the fascination of people witnessing a social disaster. I don't have them with me. Because they don't exist, I realize, my event planning instincts finally reading the situation correctly. You've been using my emergency money to fund your affair with my husband. I pull out my phone and open my banking app with the efficiency of someone who's been tracking event expenses for 30 years. Let's see, $15,000 in emergency loans to Bernice over 2 years, $25,000 in Nibley expenses for Calvin, $85,000 for this anniversary celebration. The numbers hit the ballroom like a bomb. $125,000 spent supporting an affair and celebrating a dead marriage. Jesus Christ, someone whispers. She's been funding their affair. And the business trips? I ask Calvin, my voice deadly calm. Where exactly have you been traveling for business? Calvin's silence is answer enough, so I continue my investigation with professional precision. Calvin, show me your business travel receipts for the past 2 years. Phil, this isn't the time. Show them to me now, or I'll call your office Monday morning and ask them directly. The threat works. Calvin pulls out his phone with shaking hands and shows me his photo gallery. Instead of business receipts, I see pictures of romantic getaways. Calvin and Bernice at beach resorts, mountain cabins, city hotels, all funded by money I thought was supporting his consulting work. Romantic getaways, I announced to the ballroom, funded by my retirement savings while I planned our anniversary celebration. The crowd's murmur grows louder. This isn't just an affair anymore, it's systematic financial fraud disguised as marriage. Mom? Jennifer approaches with tears streaming down her face. I'm so sorry. We thought you knew and we're just trying to keep the family together. Keep the family together? While my family has been systematically destroying me behind my back. Who else knew? I ask the ballroom. Who else has been watching me fund my husband's affair while planning parties to celebrate our marriage? More hands go up, the country club staff, our neighbors. Even the caterers working tonight exchange guilty looks. I've been the entertainment for my entire social circle. The clueless wife throwing elaborate parties while her husband flaunts his affair with her best friend. Well, I say, my voice carrying 30 years of event coordination authority. I hope you've all enjoyed the show. I look around at these people, my friends, my family, my carefully cultivated social network, who've been watching me humiliate myself for 2 years while keeping my husband's secret. The silence in my ballroom feels like the moment before a perfectly timed event reveals that suspended breath before everything changes forever. I'm surrounded by 150 people who've just realized they're not watching a social disaster unfold, but a professional event coordinator who's about to apply 30 years of expertise to the biggest crisis management situation of her career. Calvin, I say, my voice carrying the authority I used when vendors tried to back out of contracts. I need you to explain something to me. He shifts uncomfortably, clearly sensing that the confused wife he's been managing has been replaced by someone far more dangerous. The Riverside Resort weekend in March, I continue, pulling up his photos on his phone, the one that cost $3,200 according to my bank statement. You told me it was a business conference. Phil, we can discuss this later. We're discussing it now. I turn the phone toward our guests, showing the romantic photos of Calvin and Bernice at a luxury resort. Does this look like a business conference to anyone? The crowd murmurs with the fascination of people watching a perfectly orchestrated reveal. This is what I do: manage timing, control information flow, create maximum impact. And this one, I continue, swiping to the next photo. The Napa Valley trip in June. $4,500 for your client meeting. Bernice, weren't you supposed to be visiting your sick aunt that weekend? Bernice's face goes white. File, I can explain. Please do. Explain how your sick aunt in Phoenix became a wine tasting in Napa Valley with my husband. The systematic deception is unraveling in real time, and my event planning instincts are cataloging every detail with professional precision. This isn't just an affair. It's an elaborate production that's been running for 2 years. Mom, Jennifer approaches hesitantly. Maybe we should take this somewhere private. Private? I almost laugh. Jennifer, your father has been conducting a very public affair for 2 years. The only person who didn't know was me. I look around at the faces of people who've been watching this performance while I unknowingly funded it. Margaret Henderson, who's been hosting dinner parties where Calvin and Bernice played footsie under the table. Dorothy Walsh, who's been organizing country club events where they disappeared together for committee meetings. Margaret, I say, my voice carrying the precision I used for vendor negotiations. When you hosted your Christmas party last year, where did Calvin and Bernice disappear to for 2 hours? Margaret's silence is answer enough. And Dorothy, at the spring fundraiser, when Calvin and Bernice volunteered to pick up supplies together, what supplies did they actually bring back? Phil, we didn't want to interfere. You didn't want to interfere with what? My marriage or their affair? The question hangs in the air like a challenge. Around us, the country club staff continues serving champagne to guests who are getting the entertainment of a lifetime. Mrs. Whitman, the head caterer, approaches with professional concern. Should we continue with the dinner service or? Continue, I say firmly. Everyone paid good money to attend this celebration. They should get their money's worth. I turn back to Calvin and Bernice, who are standing together like defendants awaiting sentencing. Calvin, I have one more question. The $15,000 I've been giving Bernice for emergencies over the past 2 years. What were those emergencies really for? Phil, those were legitimate expenses. Bernice, I turn to my former best friend with the same tone I used with vendors who tried to overcharge. What did you spend my money on? There were car repairs and medical bills. Show me the receipts, I interrupt. Right now. Show me $15,000 worth of emergency receipts. The challenge creates the perfect dramatic pause. Bernice fumbles with her purse while 150 people watch her search for documentation that doesn't exist. I don't have them all with me. Because they don't exist, I realize. My professional training finally reading the situation with crystal clarity. You've been using my emergency fund as an affair allowance. The revelation hits the crowd like a perfectly timed event surprise. Gasps echo around the ballroom as people realize the scope of the deception. Let me get this straight, I announce to the room, my event coordinator voice projecting to the back row. My husband has been having an affair with my best friend for 2 years. I've been funding their romantic getaways with my retirement savings. I've been giving her spending money for their affair. And I've been planning elaborate social events to celebrate a marriage that died 2 years ago. The summary creates the perfect moment of clarity, the kind of revelation that transforms an entire event. And all of you, I continue, looking around at the guilty faces, have been watching this performance while I unknowingly produced and funded it. Pastor Williams steps forward with the expression he uses for serious pastoral counseling. Phyllis, perhaps we should. Pastor, did you know about the affair when you agreed to give the blessing at tonight's celebration? His silence confirms everything. So you were planning to bless a marriage you knew was built on adultery, while I paid for the privilege of being humiliated in front of my entire social circle. The perspective shift is complete now. I'm no longer the confused wife being managed by her cheating husband. I'm the professional event coordinator who's just discovered she's been producing the wrong show. Calvin, I say, my voice carrying 30 years of crisis management authority. You made one critical mistake in your elaborate performance. What's that? You chose to deceive a woman who spent her entire career managing complex events, reading social dynamics, and coordinating multiple moving parts. I look around at my perfectly decorated ballroom, at the flowers I selected, the menu I planned, the guests I invited to celebrate a lie.
And now, I continue, my professional instincts taking complete control. I'm going to apply those same skills to coordinate the most spectacular event finale of my career.
The confused, desperate wife who believed every lie is gone. The event planning professional who's about to orchestrate the social reckoning of the century has taken her place. And she's just realized that the best revenge is a perfectly executed event. The transformation happens like muscle memory returning after a long vacation. As I watch my husband and best friend's affair crumble in real time, 30 years of event coordination expertise surge back with crystalline clarity. This isn't my marriage crisis anymore. This is the most complex event management challenge of my career, and I know exactly how to orchestrate a finale that will be remembered for decades. Ladies and gentlemen, I announced to the ballroom, my voice carrying the authority I used for major event presentations. I need 15 minutes to make some adjustments to tonight's program. Please enjoy the champagne and appetizers. The crowd buzzes with anticipation as I move toward the event coordination station I've set up behind the main stage, the command center where I've been managing tonight's logistics with military precision.
File. What are you doing? Calvin asks, following me with growing alarm.
I'm doing what I do best, I reply, pulling out my laptop and opening the files I've been organizing for 6 months. I'm coordinating an event, but this time, I'm not coordinating a celebration of our marriage. I'm coordinating the systematic exposure of their affair with the same professional precision I've used for 500 successful events. Jennifer, I call to my daughter. I need you to gather your brother and meet me at the coordination station. We're having a family meeting. While Jennifer collects Michael from the crowd, I begin implementing the crisis management protocols I've perfected over 3 decades. First step, secure all evidence and documentation. I pull out my phone and begin systematically photographing Calvin's romantic getaway pictures, Bernice's fake emergency requests, and the financial records showing 2 years of affair funding. Every piece of evidence documented with the methodical precision I used for vendor contracts.
Mom, what's happening? Michael asks as he and Jennifer approach my coordination station.
Your father has been having an affair with Bernice for 2 years, I say with the same calm efficiency I used for event briefings. You both knew about it. I need to understand the full scope of the deception before I proceed. Mom, we were trying to protect you. Jennifer starts.
Protect me from what? From discovering that my husband was stealing my retirement money to fund his affair. My voice carries the authority I used with vendors who tried to justify overcharges. How much did you know?
Everything, Michael admits quietly. Dad told us 6 months ago. He said you were too invested in the anniversary planning to handle the truth. Too invested in anniversary planning. While I was using my professional expertise to create the perfect celebration, my own children were protecting their father's theft and adultery.
And you thought this was acceptable? I ask, my event coordinator training taking complete control. We hoped Dad would end it before the anniversary, Jennifer says. We didn't want to ruin your big event.
My big event. The $85,000 celebration I've been planning while my family conspired to keep me funding my own humiliation. Well, I say, opening my vendor contact list with professional efficiency. You're about to see what happens when you underestimate a professional event coordinator. I dial the first number, Marcus Chen, the photographer I've worked with for 15 years.
Marcus, it's Phyllis Whitman. I need you to document everything that happens in the next hour. Consider it a special assignment with bonus pay.
What kind of documentation, Phil?
The kind that ends careers and destroys reputations. Can you handle that? Absolutely. I'll get the good camera.
Next, I call Sarah Williams, the videographer who's been recording tonight's celebration. Sarah,
change of plans.
I need you to focus on Calvin and Bernice for the next hour.
Get everything, their reactions, their conversations, their attempts to leave. This is now a documentary.
File. Is everything okay?
Everything's perfect. I'm finally using my event planning skills for the right purpose. While I coordinate my documentation team, Calvin approaches with the desperate expression of someone who's realized they're dealing with a professional instead of a victim.
Phil, you're overreacting. We can work this out privately.
Privately? I almost laugh. Calvin, you've been conducting a very public affair for 2 years. The only thing that's going to be private is your bank account after I'm finished with you.
I pull out my business phone, the one I've kept active for consulting work, and dial my attorney, Patricia Morrison. Patricia, it's Phyllis Whitman. I need emergency legal consultation. My husband has been systematically stealing from our joint accounts to fund a 2-year affair. Phyllis, how much money are we talking about?
$125,000 in documented theft, plus whatever else I haven't discovered yet. I need asset protection immediately.
I'll have emergency financial protection orders ready within the hour. Don't let him access any more accounts.
While I wait for legal backup, I begin the systematic evidence gathering I've perfected through decades of vendor management. Bank statements, credit card records, travel receipts, all organized with the same precision I used for complex event budgets.
Mrs. Whitman?
The head caterer approaches with professional concern.
The guests are asking about dinner service. Should we proceed?
Absolutely, but I'm making some changes to the program. I pull out my event timeline and begin revising with the efficiency of someone managing a crisis. Instead of the anniversary toast, we're having a truth-telling session. Instead of dancing, we're having a financial audit. Instead of celebrating 35 years of marriage, we're documenting 2 years of systematic fraud.
Bernice approaches with tears in her eyes, clearly hoping to appeal to our 20-year friendship.
Phil, please don't do this. Think about our friendship. Our friendship?
I look at this woman who's been stealing my husband and my money while accepting my trust.
Bernice, you've been using our friendship as cover for a 2-year affair. You've been taking my emergency money to fund your relationship with my husband. You've been lying to my face while sleeping in my bed. It wasn't like that. It was exactly like that. I turn back to my laptop, where I'm creating a presentation with the same professional precision I used for client proposals. And now everyone's going to see exactly what it was like.
Calvin tries one last manipulation. Phil, you're embarrassing yourself. People will remember this forever.
You're absolutely right, I say, my voice carrying 30 years of event coordination authority. They will remember this forever. They'll remember the night Phyllis Whitman stopped being a victim and started being a professional.
I look around at my perfectly coordinated anniversary celebration, at the flowers, the food, the guests, the documentation team, and realize I've been planning the wrong event for 6 months. But don't worry, Calvin, I continue, my professional instincts taking complete control. I'm about to give everyone the most memorable event of their lives.
The confused wife who funded her own humiliation is gone. The event planning professional who's about to orchestrate the social justice event of the century has taken her place. And she's very, very good at her job. The country club ballroom transforms into the most perfectly orchestrated event finale of my 30-year career. Marcus has his cameras positioned for maximum coverage. Sarah's videographer equipment captures every angle, and 150 guests sit in rapt attention as I take the stage with the confidence of someone who's managed countless successful presentations. Ladies and gentlemen, I begin, my voice carrying the authority I've perfected through decades of event coordination. Thank you for attending what was supposed to be our 35th wedding anniversary celebration. Instead, you're about to witness the most expensive divorce announcement in country club history. The crowd's murmur builds as I click to my first slide, a professional presentation I've created with the same precision I used for client proposals.
Calvin, I continue, gesturing to my husband who's standing frozen beside Bernice. Would you like to explain to our guests why you've been stealing from our joint accounts to fund your affair?
Phil, this is insane. This is systematic, I correct, clicking to the next slide showing bank statements.
$25,000 in 19 business trips that were actually romantic getaways. $15,000 in emergency loans to Bernice that funded your affair. $85,000 for tonight's celebration of a marriage that died 2 years ago. The numbers hit the ballroom like perfectly timed event reveals. Gasps echo from the crowd as they realize the scope of the financial fraud.
But wait, I continue with the dramatic timing I've perfected for major announcements. There's more.
I click to the next slide, photos from Calvin's phone showing their romantic getaways, intimate dinners, and vacation moments, all funded by money he stole from our joint accounts. The Riverside Resort weekend, $3,200 of my retirement savings. The Napa Valley trip, $4,500 of our anniversary fund. The Charleston getaway, $2,800 that was supposed to pay for our grandchildren's Christmas gifts. Each revelation builds like a perfectly orchestrated crescendo. The crowd is completely silent, transfixed by the systematic exposure of 2 years of deception.
Calvin, I say, my voice carrying the authority I used for difficult vendor negotiations. Do you have anything to say to our guests about stealing their anniversary gift money to fund your affair? Calvin's face cycles through expressions I've seen on vendors caught in lies: panic, calculation, desperate attempts at damage control.
File, you're making this sound worse than it is.
Am I? I click to the next slide showing a detailed financial analysis. Let's let our guests decide. $125,000 in documented theft over 2 years. That's $5,200 per month that Calvin has been stealing from our joint accounts to support his relationship with my best friend.
The mathematical precision creates the perfect impact. Several guests actually gasp at the monthly theft amount. But here's my favorite part. I continue, clicking to the final slide with the dramatic timing of a master event coordinator. Calvin doesn't know about my secret business account. The revelation hits like a perfectly timed surprise. Calvin's face goes white as I display the bank statement, showing my event planning business account. $200,000 in assets he never knew existed.
Surprise, darling, I say with the satisfaction of someone revealing the perfect event finale. While you were stealing my retirement money, I was building a business portfolio you never discovered.
The crowd erupts in applause, the kind of spontaneous appreciation I've earned through decades of successful events. Calvin, I continue, my voice carrying 30 years of crisis management authority. You made one critical mistake in your elaborate deception.
What's that?
You chose to steal from a professional event coordinator who spent her entire career managing complex logistics, reading social dynamics, and documenting every detail.
I gesture to Marcus and Sarah, who've been capturing everything with professional precision.
And now, I announce to the ballroom, you're going to face the consequences of underestimating a woman who's built her career on making sure everything goes according to plan. Patricia Morrison, my attorney, enters the ballroom with legal documents and 2 police officers. The timing is perfect, exactly as I coordinated.
Calvin Whitman, Officer Rodriguez says, you're under arrest for financial elder abuse and systematic theft.
The crowd watches in stunned silence as Calvin is handcuffed in his anniversary tuxedo. The same tuxedo I selected for our celebration photos.
Mrs. Whitman, Patricia announces to the gathering. The emergency asset protection orders are in effect. All joint accounts are frozen, and full restitution proceedings begin Monday morning. As they lead Calvin away, Bernice tries to follow, but I stop her with the authority I used for managing difficult vendors. Bernice, you're not going anywhere. You owe me $15,000 in fraudulent emergency loans plus interest. Phil, I don't have that kind of money. Then you'll work it off, I say with the precision of someone negotiating vendor contracts. My event planning business needs someone to handle cleanup and setup. Minimum wage, of course.
The poetic justice creates another wave of applause from the crowd. Pastor Williams approaches with the expression he uses for serious pastoral matters. Phyllis, what would you like me to tell the congregation about tonight's events? Tell them the truth, Pastor. Tell them that sometimes the most important event you'll ever coordinate is your own liberation.
I look around my perfectly orchestrated ballroom at the flowers I selected, the guests I invited, the documentation team I coordinated, and realize I've just produced the most successful event of my career.
Ladies and gentlemen, I announce to the crowd, thank you for attending the Calvin and Bernice fraud exposure event. The bar remains open, dinner will be served as planned, and the dancing will begin shortly.
What are we celebrating? Margaret Henderson asks. We're celebrating the fact that a 63-year-old woman just remembered that 30 years of professional expertise doesn't disappear just because someone calls you wife, I reply.
The crowd erupts in the kind of sustained applause I've earned through decades of successful events. The confused wife who funded her own humiliation is gone. The event planning professional who just orchestrated the social justice event of the century is taking her bow. And for the first time in 2 years, everything has gone exactly according to plan. 9 months later, I'm standing in the conference room at the Marriott Grand Ballroom, looking out at 40 event planning professionals who've gathered for my presentation on crisis management in personal events, when your life becomes your greatest coordination challenge. The irony isn't lost on me. At 63, I've become the expert on turning personal disasters into professional triumphs.
How many of you have had clients whose events revealed family secrets? I ask the room. Most hands go up, and I smile with recognition. Today, we're going to talk about what happens when you become both the event coordinator and the client discovering the secret. The transformation didn't happen overnight. It took 6 months of legal proceedings, business restructuring, and the kind of systematic rebuilding I'd perfected during my event planning career. But for the first time in years, every aspect of my life is coordinated with professional precision rather than emotional desperation. My phone buzzes with a text from Jennifer. "Mom, the kids want to know if Grandma Phil is coming to Emma's graduation party. They're excited to see your famous presentation set up." I smile and text back, "Wouldn't miss it. Tell Emma I'm bringing my event coordination manual for her college party planning protection." The relationship with my children has been the most rewarding part of this transformation. Once Calvin's systematic theft was exposed, they rallied around me with support I'd never experienced. They see me now not as the desperate wife trying to save her marriage through elaborate parties, but as the professional who fought back and won. "Mrs. Whitman?" A young event coordinator in the front row raises her hand. "How did you finally trust your professional instincts over your emotional investment?" "By remembering that 30 years of event planning expertise doesn't disappear just because someone you love is lying to you," I reply. "Your professional skills are earned, not optional." After my presentation, Marcus Chen approaches with a familiar portfolio. "The documentary about your anniversary event has been accepted by 3 film festivals," he says. "Your story is inspiring other women to trust their professional judgment in personal situations." A documentary. At 63, I thought my career was winding down. Turns out, it was just beginning its most important chapter. What's the response been like? Incredible. We've had 12 other women contact us about similar situations. Husbands using their professional skills against them. Families exploiting their expertise while undermining their confidence. Your systematic approach to exposing the truth has become a model. 12 other women. The number hits me with unexpected force. How many others are out there, living with the same professional manipulation, the same systematic undermining of their expertise? I want to help them, I say without hesitation. What would that look like? My phone rings, and I see it's Sarah Williams, the videographer who captured Calvin's arrest. "Phyllis, I have incredible news. The National Association of Event Planners wants you to develop a workshop series on professional boundaries and personal relationships. Apparently, your case has become required viewing in event management programs." "That's wonderful, Sarah. When do they need it?" "Next month. They're creating a nationwide program based on your coordination methods." After I hang up, I walk through the hotel corridors where I've spent 4 decades of my life managing events. The familiar sounds and energy feel like coming home. But different now. I'm not just Phil, the event coordinator, anymore. I'm Phyllis Whitman, crisis management consultant, expert witness, advocate for professional women's rights. At home, I look around my living room, really look at it. The anniversary decorations are gone, replaced by framed certificates from my new consulting work. The elaborate entertaining supplies have been replaced by case files and professional development materials. The space feels lighter, cleaner, more authentically mine. The house is officially mine now, too. Calvin's conviction resulted in full restitution plus damages, and I've established a business structure that protects my assets while expanding my professional reach. More importantly, it's restored my faith in my own professional judgment. My doorbell rings, and I open it to find Bernice holding a check and a resignation letter from her cleanup job at my events company. "Phyllis, I've finished paying back the $15,000. She says quietly, "plus the interest and penalty fees you calculated." "Thank you," I reply, accepting the final payment. "I hope the work experience taught you something about the value of honest labor." It did. "And Phyllis, I'm sorry, not just for the affair, but for making you doubt your professional instincts. You were always the smartest person in our social circle." After she leaves, I sit quietly in my home office, surrounded by the life I've built from the ashes of betrayal. At 63, I've learned that it's never too late to reclaim your professional identity, trust your expertise, and start over. My phone chimes with an email from a woman in Seattle.
Mrs. Whitman, I heard your story and used your documentation methods to uncover my husband's business fraud. Thank you for teaching me to trust my accounting background over my wifely loyalty. I smile and begin typing my response. Because this is who I am now, not the woman who was deceived, but the professional who helps others avoid the same deception. As the sun sets through my office window, I look at my calendar for tomorrow. 3 client consultations, a workshop planning session, and dinner with Jennifer and the grandchildren. A life built on professional competence rather than social performance. The anniversary party may have ended in devastation, but it led to the most important work of my career. If you've ever questioned your professional expertise in personal situations, or felt like your skills were being used against you by people you love, remember this: your knowledge is earned, not negotiable. Trust what you know, trust what you've learned, trust yourself. Because sometimes the skills that built your career are exactly what you need to rebuild your life. And it's never too late to remember that being someone's wife doesn't make you professionally naive. The event coordinator who spent 30 years creating perfect celebrations never really retired. She just learned to coordinate the most important event of all, her own liberation.